Morning traders, and this is your Aussie South African Top 40 review for today. So, as expected yesterday, the measured move played out. We actually gapped above the measured move and accelerated up to the next level before bouncing off it. Now, just before we clean up the nonsense, there is our daily trend line. We've gapped up above it. Okay, oscillators are grouped in overbought territory, so it is a bit of a challenge. As you can see to the left here, the structure that is in place where the seller stepped in off. Okay, so we've been left with a pin bar here, and that pin bar is off structure. In other words, it's off a level. There's our level, rejection of that level. We've got a gap up. So, if we end up with a gap down, that's a very, very solid reversal pattern on the daily forming. I somehow don't think that's going to transpire, but if we look at the Rand, it's flat, 1460. US markets were flat yesterday. China's flat at the moment. Very volatile yesterday, but ended up fairly flat. I think the S&P was up 0.3%, and the Nasdaq was up 0.4%, and the Dow was up 0.17%. And all the futures markets are hovering around the same gains at the moment. So 10 cents at the moment is down 0.5%. So that's probably the only thing that's going to influence the market. If 10 cent continues to fall today, then you can expect a gap down. Now the big question is whether you get a gap down and you don't close that gap, because in that there's a couple of scenarios that are going to play out. You'll be looking at, let's just get down to the hour, you'll be looking at an island reversal. Ignore this last bar, it's nonsense. So this is pretty much the range that we traded in yesterday. Okay, so if we get a gap down, what you're going to be looking for is bottom gap close, at least, and then more than likely come down to this area. I'd actually even take it right down to test this breakout. Okay, one thing that, let's just get rid of the block. One thing that is looking fairly interesting is that. So we have a bit of a wedge forming. There's not enough structure in the wedge, so I need more sort of touches left and right of it. But if we go down to a lower time frame, you'll probably see more structure. Okay, so, and depending how I do it, I mean, if I take it from there, so there we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, 1, 2. So there's decent structure on the lower time frames. Okay, so that's kind of the level that I'd be looking at. If we do get a gap down, expect this bottom gap to close. Okay, possibly even deeper, all the way down to the 12-minute 200 moving averages down here, which is 49,977. Okay, and that would be an area that I'd be looking. I would be interested in a little nibble for a long. There is another gap to the downside that hasn't been closed yet, which would concern me. But for now, on the 12-minute, the trend is very much the downside. We've had a reversal here, and we've had a retest. So you can see we broke below the moving averages there, and we've come back and we've retested the break here. Okay, and the other break that's been retested is that one there. Okay, with the South African market, you never have exact breakout retests. Very rare. Normally you overshoot it by a couple of points, but it's still a breakout retest. Okay, so this is the one market that when you get off a level like this, you're looking firstly to enter on the break below this tail. Then if you don't get that, the next bar, the break below the next bar. You don't get that, the break below the next bar, and then you get your entry. Okay, so anyway, so this is the one view. We could continue this. So we could widen this up a bit like that. In other words, we could have a gap down, and then back up, and then down, and you'll see the structure inside that wedge at the moment. We can sort of all the way down to test this gap. Okay, so this would be an area for a buy for me, a little nibble with a fairly tight stop below the structure. Okay, and then what I'd be looking for is pretty much the second move of this, but it is Friday, so I wouldn't hold on to it too long. Probably just look for some levels and get in, get out, and enjoy the weekend. Okay, so that's kind of the view that I've got at the moment. The hour is still very much an uptrend, and if you look at my oscillators, they're coming off overbought territory. We have a wedge, so trend is still very much the upside. So anything could happen, but I do believe there is another little trend line here that would probably hold up price. There it is there. But you can see that's going to come sort of down in the almost in the wedge, not quite in the wedge area, but almost in the wedge area. Okay. Then the last thing to look at the moment is our Fibonacci. So there's our Fibonacci. There's a 50% retracement, which is below the gap close. So that also makes sense. I mean, that would be an ideal entry, is this retest here. So that's 48, sorry, 49,880. 49,880. That would be an ideal entry for a long. Okay, so it would be a nice, decent retracement. Firstly, it would close this gap, and it would also come and test the breakouts. And these breakouts are pretty much almost every time retest. It may not happen in the same time frame or day or week, but they pretty much almost always tend to test it. So I would expect to retest that breakout sometime in the future. Okay, so what would be nice is to see a nice big fall in the next couple of days, or just a retracement, and then a second move, because the second move will be the length of this move to the upside on the last 3 days. Okay, so anyway, that's my view at the moment. We have turned at a fairly significant level, so I would expect us to have another attempt at that, but from lower down. So in other words, buy the dips. So whatever we come back down to, this would be the ideal area for me. And I think that's the only thing that I'm prepared to trade. If you are going to sit and watch on lower time frames, then you can probably find a better entry on lower time frames. But for me, 49,880 is the area I'm looking for a long. Okay, here we go. That's it for me today. Hope it helps, and I'll catch you later. Cheers for now.